Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another episode of SacTown Underground here on Access Sacramento. I'm your host, Keith Jogonanis. Got a great show for you on this go-around here on SacTown Underground. We're going to start, as usual, with our monthly Sacramento calendar, powered by Sacramento 365. After that, we're going to go to Infocon 2018 as we highlight Elan Home Security, followed by our own Matthew Gilliam out at the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event, followed by sports with me, and then we are going to go to Fashion on Film, where we get behind-the-scenes look of the world of fashion with actual designers that are involved in it. We're going to follow that up at the end with the Glenn Gallarde project. Our own Caitlin Ellis had a great interview with Glenn Gallarde, followed up by a performance by Glenn Gallarde at the Balwick. To get things started here on this episode of SacTown Underground, we're going to give you our monthly Sacramento calendar powered by Sacramento 365, where as usual, we always highlight the upcoming events here in our great city of Sacramento, California. Let's take a look. And a great monthly calendar as usual is powered by Sacramento 365. And now let's go to Infocom as we highlight Elan Home Security.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Ellis at SacTown Underground, and today I'm here with Ryan from Elan. Thank you for joining us today. Can you tell me a little bit of Elan, where you guys are based out of? How long has it been around?
Yeah, so Elan has been around for over 30 years. We're based in Carlsbad, California, so we're a local California company. And our focus is both residential and commercial control. So we work with businesses as well as homeowners to give them control of their home.
What are you guys featuring this year at Infocom?
So this year at Infocom, we're showing off how we work with some of the other companies that we own, including some of our different platforms such as security. So we now integrate with our 2 gig panels that we offer. We're showing off some of our new Elan cameras and what that can do in terms of increasing your security within your home or your business.
Okay, thank you. And for our viewers that want to find out more about Elan, where can we find you?
Yeah, so the best way to find out more is to visit us online. We're at elanhomesystems.com, so you can find out more about our products as well as find a dealer where you can learn more about it and how it might work for you.
And my last question is, can you tell our viewers anything that's happening in the future for Elan?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just recently bought a company called Intellivision. So with that recent acquisition, we're going to be bringing basically AI or artificial intelligence into our camera platforms, where we can actually do more with the Elan platform, such as recognizing not only people, animals, even individuals and vehicles based on license plates.
Thank you for joining us today.
Great work from Infocom and from the guys at Elan Home Security. We now take you to our next feature, Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, and where men walk in high heels with all the money and donations going towards the improvement of battered women. As our own Matthew Gilliam takes us there.
Hi everybody, this is Matthew Gilliam. You're watching SacTown Underground on Access Sacramento. I'm here with Beth. She is the CEO of Weave. How are you doing today, Beth?
Doing great. It's a great event, and it's great to see everybody here.
It's fantastic. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. There's food vendors, there are vendors, there is a band going on, and we're actually waiting to see the gentleman don the high heels. Beth, can you tell us a little bit about Weave?
We are the Rape Crisis Center, domestic violence agency, and anti-sex trafficking organization here in Sacramento.
Wow, and you know, I've heard of Weave and I know about their mission, but Beth, can you tell us a little bit about things that you do outside of this event for those people?
We provide housing and counseling and legal services, really anything anybody needs to get out of a dangerous situation or to heal from trauma from the crimes that have been committed against them.
Can you tell us about this event specifically? What is it?
It's a fundraising event, but also an awareness event and an opportunity for people to get active in their community and do something good to raise money, awareness, and try to help us end domestic violence and sexual assault.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so what I understand is that some men put on high heels and then they walk around, or how does that work?
They do. The men and any women who want to will put on high heels and walk a mile, really to build awareness and show their solidarity and support of victims.
Wow, that's just wonderful. Walking a mile in her shoes. Oh, okay, I get it now. And now, Beth, can you tell us where people can reach Weave if they'd like to give donations or just have general information?
Online, we're at weaveinc.org, or they can always call our support line, which is 916-920-2952, and talk to a counselor or get more information about how to get involved.
Thank you for the great work, Matt, and such a great benefit to all those women out there that have experienced that kind of tragedy and effects like that in their lives. We now go to the sports section highlighted by me, where I will bring to you the sports story that I have been most curious about the last couple of weeks. And a happy month of July to all of you who watch us, and hopefully, even better month of August. I'm Keith Jogonanis. This is the sports. While your neighbors, long before this, were busy firing off illegal fireworks from Mexico at 3 a.m. in the morning on 4th of July, and the 5th and the 6th, the Kings way before that were setting off fireworks and cherry bombs of their own. The Kings came into the NBA draft this past June and the lottery with only a slim chance to land in the top 3. But thanks to De'Aaron Fox representing the Kings in New York, that's just what they did. The Kings got the second pick, and all Sacramento for 12 hours was jubilant. And then the next 12 hours, and the next 24 hours, and the next 24 hours after that, were just sitting there contemplating what the Kings would do with the second pick. They got lucky 2 NBA draft lotteries to go when they took De'Aaron Fox 5th overall. But the Kings have had trouble in the lottery for years. No matter the record, no matter the bad basketball, they have always found a way to somehow, with a projected top 3 pick, fall out of the top 10. Call it luck, call it a fix, call it a payroll scam. The Kings got the second pick in the draft. And then they had their sights focused on who they would pick. Marvin Bagley from Duke, or the European sensation Luka Doncic. All month long, fans bickered back and forth. Should the Kings take Doncic, a small forward that many think, if he pans out the way he's supposed to be, is the next great European player? The Kings have not had a great small forward in years. Doncic would have fit that hole right away, no problem. Or do you go for the supposed best player in the draft? Marvin Bagley, after DeAndre Ayton was taken by the Suns, was regarded by many on every big board as the can't-miss talent. He can run up the floor. He's athletic. Can't play defense, but really, it's the NBA. Who can? Vlade Divac trusted his gut, and he took Marvin Bagley with the second overall pick. That seemed to have been the easy part when you consider what Divac said in the press conference following the draft. He talked about how this team was young, and they were getting guys to run up and down the floor. And then Divac proceeded to stick his foot in his mouth. Quote, "This is a super team, just young." Oh? Super team? Not really. The super team is the Golden State Warriors. They've won the last 3 NBA championships out of the past 4 seasons. The Kings not really are a super team. Super bad the last 10 years, you better believe that. Super interesting when you consider all the off-court issues. Matt Barnes getting into a nightclub fight in New York. There was Rajon Rondo using gay slurs against an NBA referee. Boogie Cousins didn't want the monkey shirts on the Chinese New Year Day game a couple years back. Angeli Dive can't sing, but because she's the owner's daughter, he'll put her out there anyway, Sacramento. Super interesting, you better believe it. Super team, not so much. But Vlade Divac, if this draft pick doesn't pan out, you are super likely looking to be filling out some job interviews and some job resumes if you are not super careful. Now, let's be fair about this, because the Kings do have a puncher's chance. Look at that young core. Harry Giles, after a year of being rehabbed to make sure that his legs are right, he looks good in Summer League. De'Aaron Fox had some great clutch moments as a rookie. Buddy Hield, if he can stop turning the basketball over, could be the shooting guard of the future. No one thought the Kings could get Bogdan Bogdanovic to come over from Europe, but Vlade did, and he was the best player by leaps and bounds. Willie Cauley-Stein is soft like tissue paper. He's getting there. He's on and off, hot and cold every other day, but hey, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and then, Sacramento. Super team? Not really. Super young? You bet you. Vlade Divac took the best player in the draft. But what happens if Marvin Bagley isn't the best player in the draft? What happens if Luka Doncic becomes a superstar? What happens if Marvin Bagley becomes a superstar? All of it is what if, but you can't deny the fact that the Kings have had this plan laid out. The Kings for 7+ years had to deal with DeMarcus Cousins. Great player, but slow. You have to slow the offense down to feed the big man. Now, not the case. The Kings are athletic. They're young. They can get out in the open floor, no problem. That is the new wave of the NBA. It's fast-paced. It's 3-and-D guys. It's guys who are wings, who can shoot the basketball, who can put it in the basket from everywhere. What if Marvin Bagley is the key to all this? Is Vlade Divac the savior? Does he really have a super team? No one knows for sure. Everyone just really hopes that this supposed super team is just a team in 10 years. And hopefully that team is competitive. But being a Sacramento Kings fan, nothing is guaranteed. To quote the rapper Drake, "Trap Money Benny, they've had us in our feelings for years and years and years." Super team? Not so much. Super interesting? You betcha. That's going to do it for sports. I'm Keith Jokiananis. And now it's time at our show to toss it over to Fashion on Film. We get a designer's point of view. Let's take a look.
Well, I've been doing fashion design since 1977. And like I said, in 1982, I won this trip to California. And I ended up in the Bay Area, and I stayed there for 17 years. And when I got ready to leave the Bay Area, I became a stylist for Nordstrom. And when I got to Sacramento, there was no fashion. So I dedicated myself to visual merchandising and visual art.
I started designing approximately a year after the accidental death of my 11-year-old son as a way to heal. I was not taught by anyone. I just found it accidentally and liked it so well that I stayed with it.
First of all, I consider myself more of an artist, a wearable artist, than a designer. A designer for me is, the schooling that I had was not proper schooling. I've learned, my sister taught me actually how to sew, and my mother used to sew for me as a child, so I kind of caught on to that. So my work is not in the perfect way so I call it wearable art, because you can't question somebody's art. They could do a painting, and you can't say, well, that's not right. So when I do art, I just do it on fabric.
Well, my mom, you know, when I was a kid, my mom used to do a lot of sewing for my family, my mother, my sisters and stuff like that. She worked in a doll factory. She made dolls and stuff. So there was always a sewing machine set up in my house. A couple times I sewed my fingers up, sneaking to use the sewing machine, and I didn't get caught until I got caught up with the machine. So my mom was the main one that taught me how to sew and gave me the inspiration to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, my mother sewed for me as a child, and they would have at Bret Harte Elementary, they'd have a fashion show, PTA fashion show. So I said, I want to be in it. And so I modeled. My mom would make me outfits like Tom Jones, and so then she did those, but she never really sat me down and told me how to do it until later on, when I was in my 20s. My sister would be sewing vests for me because I'd go to all these parties and events, and I always wanted to look sharp. So she would sew them for me. So after like 4 vests, she said, you know, well, now I ain't gonna do it for you no more. Here, this is what you do. Well, I met Marty Anaya through a friend of mine, Adrian Perez, and he told me, oh, you got to meet this guy, and he's the one he does fast film, and he does all these things. And I met him, and he was very dynamic, and he knows exactly what to do, and he just works things, makes them happen. And so I think he told me about this event, and he asked me to be a part of it. And at the time, it was quick, that I only had 6 pieces, and I showed 6 pieces, and they're all 1920s, which is one of my favorite eras to recreate, because I'm a costumer mainly, more than a designer. I love period costume. So I did a 20 show, and it was like 6 pieces, and everybody loved it. So then I didn't do it. I think the next year I didn't do it. Then the next year I followed again, and I did The Time Machine, which was history of film. And there was a movie called The Time Machine in 1960, and the guy goes back in time, so you see all the costumes changing, and I really love that whole concept of that idea. And so that's when he invited me to do that show also. And so.
Well, you know, I've been involved in messing around with Fashion Week for the whole 10 years or 12 years that it's been involved. But I met Marty a couple years ago. He put me on the spot and called me up on stage and started asking me all these questions, and I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of crazy. And then last year I went and I got a chance to see Rory win the first Icon Award. And I just enjoy going. Anytime there's fashion stuff, I like to go. And so this year Martin came into my studio and said, why don't you show your clothes? And I was like, I wasn't gonna show my clothes. And then I kind of got my arm twisted a little bit, and I said, okay. And so I decided to show my clothing in this year's Fashion on Film.
Okay, and so for this.
I want to produce entertainment. I have plenty of costuming now ready to help me depict my productions, and I would like to get into some productions.
Well, I want to continue creating clothes. I'd like to get to meet people like Erykah Badu and stuff like that, funky entertainers that I can get to wear my clothes. I like to be able to do more magazine type, you know, editorial shots and stuff like that. One of my dreams is to take my clothes back home. Since I started in Jersey, I'd like to take a show back to New Jersey and show my family and friends and stuff how I've grown up.
Well, you know, I've since returned to Sacramento, and I've battled with my desire to still be here, but you know, because it is my hometown, so I have a love for it. But once you see other places, it just like it thrills you, and so that's that thrill of this other world, and it's very competitive, yes. But you know, if you go there and you have a product, and if people like you, and that's all it's about. It's about connecting and networking, and so that's the part of it that's very, very important, is that you network, because you could be in this city and not ever network with anybody, and so you're not going to sell anything. But we have to be out there, be sociable, and network, and so I think that's, you know.
Piece right there, everyone, and a great insight to the world of fashion from its very own. Our next feature is on Glenn Gallarde and the Glenn Gallarde Project, who spent his whole life in music, and our very own Caitlin Ellis sat down to talk to him and have him perform. Take it away, Caitlin.
Caitlin Ellis, I'm here with Glenn Gallarde of the Glenn Gallarde Project. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So tell me, what is the Glenn Gallarde Project? How long have you been around, and how was it formed?
Well, I've been singing since I was about 6 or 7 with my mom and dad's band, and performed around the Midwest with their band and everything, and performed all over the Midwest, and then I ended up performing on cruise ships with my parents' band, and then back in '95 I started, I actually moved, no, 96 I moved out here, and I ended up with performing with other bands there, and then eventually I got my own band together, and then we formed the Glenn Gallarde Project. It's been a few years now, so yeah, so we just perform around the Strip and also out of town and wherever they want us, you know.
So you just mentioned you had a band with your parents, or your parents had a band?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, they're called Vicky and the Holding Company. My mom is a singer, and my dad is a singer and plays bass, and they have they're actually performing on Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, actually in the Mediterranean, so they're there for a few months, and then they come home. This is their home in Vegas as well. So yeah, I've been performing with them since I was 6 or 7 years old. So.
Oh, and I know you recently just told me you were previously on Will and Grace, I think it was.
Oh, or actually, my uncle's best friend is the guy that plays Will, Eric McCormick, and he grew up in. I've known Eric, gosh, probably since the early '90s. He was part of the wedding, my aunt and uncle's wedding in Canada. I think up in Toronto area. So, but yeah, we just saw a few tapings last year, and that was a lot of fun because I've never seen it, you know. But they were out here about 10-15 years ago. But I was performing at Caesar's Palace, and they were filming at Caesar's Palace, but I wasn't. I couldn't see the taping because we were gigging and stuff. So that's about it. Yeah.
So I heard you were on a show with McMahon, or who?
Oh,
McCormick?
Yes, I was on Ed McMahon's Star Search back in the late 80s. I was a teen vocalist, and that's where Justin Timberlake performed, Britney Spears, the comedian Sinbad, the country band Sawyer Brown, and a bunch of other artists and comedians that came out of there. So it was basically like American Idol back in the day, as well as The Voice and stuff. So they had everything from models to comedians to bands to teen vocalists, everything, you name it. You know, very talented people came out of from that show.
So besides Glenn Gallarde Project, what other bands are you in?
All over the place. Perform with a group called Nitro. When I'm not performing with my band, I perform with them, and I play drums and sing with that band. And then I also do my duo, and I perform all over the strip, and as well as like off the strip. And actually this coming Friday, I'll be performing over at the Rampart Casino in Summerlin at the Round Bar. And yeah, and I just try to stay busy, whether it's playing drums with another band or singing with another band or doing my duo or trio. Just keeps me busy, you know.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us that you've done previously or that you're going to be doing in the future?
Hopefully I'll be recording some originals. That's what I've been wanting to do for the past year or so. Actually, I've been wanting to do that, but you know, if you're busy in Vegas, you just kind of like you get so busy that you forget, you know. So I want to get back into the writing and producing and doing original songs, and hopefully maybe try out for The Voice. We'll see. And a lot of family and friends want me to try out for it. So I mean, you know, I think I'll try, you know, and hopefully they like me and I make it and see what happens from there, you know.
That'd be great. We look forward to seeing you on that hopefully one day. Where can we find you on social media or websites?
Right now through Facebook, the Glenn Gallarde Project, and also Instagram and Twitter. And just look for me, either Glenn Gallarde or Glenn Gallarde Music. I'll be on there. And soon I'll be getting my website going. And you can find me on YouTube as well. So, yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Stop.